Hey everyone, my name is Dash Reimer. I'm the new Youth Poet Laureate for Saskatchewan. So I'm making this video just to introduce myself a tiny bit and hopefully you feel like you know me even a small amount by the end of it. So like I said, my name is Dash Reimer. That's actually just my middle name and my last name. My full name is Joel Dash Reimer. Joel being named after a book of the Bible with lots of fire in it. My middle name, Dash, which is mainly what I go by, is actually said Dosh. It's a Mongolian word. And I was named that because I spent the first 6 years of my life in Mongolia. The name means bringer of joy. But we say it Dash, and so that's often what I go by. My last name, Reimer, a fitting name for a poet, I know. I was always told that by my teachers growing up. My last name, Reimer, is a Mennonite name, so it's not spelled as if the word rhyme, but the Mennonite way, R-E-I-M-E-R. And so I mentioned that specifically just because I'm here sitting in my home in Saskatoon on Treaty 6 territory, and me and my family's history in this land is very short. My family is Mennonite. They came over here not long ago. I'm just have three generations of my family here in this country and on this land. The Mennonites fled as refugees from the Ukraine and Russian region. When they arrived here, they became settlers, and my family was given land that really, maybe shouldn't have belonged to them. But I have benefited from the way that this land has given back to me in some ways that are so reciprocal and caring, and in some ways that haven't been as much. And I like to recognize that I'm really here as a guest. And then the same thing with this genre that I work in of spoken word poetry, page poetry, hip hop are the three things that I write in when it comes to literary art. And when it comes to spoken word poetry and hip hop specifically, which have roots in black culture and indigenous culture and different African cultures, I'm a real guest in those spaces. And I'm so grateful to get to work in them. And when it comes to page poetry, the Mennonite Irish side of me maybe has a little bit more of a space that is natural there, but I'm grateful either way to be here with you and to talk with you about some poetry. So how I arrived at doing poetry, I guess more as a job. I've been working as a poet for about 10 years now, but I've only been working full time doing art stuff for about 2 years now. And I started really getting into poetry when I had three spoken word poets come to my school: Cody Dill, Isaac Bond, and Ahmed Majid. All incredible. Check them out online. They got stuff. But they came to my school, they performed, they did a workshop, and I was blown away. Just because I had only recently come back to Canada for grade 11 of high school here in Saskatoon, and I had moved back from North Africa, and where I'd been living in North Africa had been a dictatorship at the time, where there was a lot of information control, and there was a lot of fear around what you could or couldn't say. And so to come back and see these artists speak so clearly and beautifully about the things that were true and hard about how they saw the world and how they experienced the world, that reshaped me and it got me into it. I said, hey, I also I think that'd be amazing to be able to speak and be heard. And I'm sure there's a little bit of ego in that. Luckily, that transformed into not just wanting to speak and be heard, but to listen, because I was so grateful to also be in this literary community where stories were so valued and celebrated. And that's how I got into spoken word. I write about a number of things depending on how I write. It's rhythmic, it's hip hop, it's performative, it's spoken word, or it's page poetry, and it's soft and it's gentle. A number of topics I write about: chronic health issues I have, or the fact that I'm bipolar and how I navigate that. I write about being a man and engaging with masculinity in the ways that's healthy and unhealthy. I write about being bi and Christian and some of the contrast and tension of that. I write about lots of things, but also sometimes I don't write about a heavy topic. I write about my garden and how beautiful it looks today. And so before I go, I did want to share just one short poem with you. It's a page poem, and I've been playing around with it for a bit, so I thought I'd put it out there. It's called Grandfather Moth. I watch Grandfather Moth at the poetry show. The powder on his wings taps against chairs and spills into his neighbor's drinks. He sits with a notebook in front of him, fingers twisted around a pen, writing illegible, filling a journal from 1943, writing letters as if he was still as young as me. Grandfather Moth watches his grandson uncurl himself on stage. He watches the young poet speak of love as if no one else had ever felt it like they do. And they are so full of cliche, but they are so right. Grandfather Moth has never seen someone stand so upright. He flutters in his seat, nervous with joy. He finds it so beautiful, the way that they long to be seen, when he has been biting holes into his most honest poems for years. You can see in the way his eyes shake that there is a piece of him that is breaking, as it remembers all of the words he was never able to read from his journal. He is remembering every cocoon he saw burst in blood and milk in order to survive. He is mourning the child he never became. Grandfather Moth is so proud of his grandson as he stands on stage and forgets to be ashamed. Grandfather Moth makes a home in every story that is shared with him. He digs his way to the surface as I watch the story fall from his memory. Thank you so much for listening with me. I'm looking forward to hear all of your stories as well too in this next year.